Here we have an other asset, and we see in this example that we bought this asset in 2005 for R1 million and sold it recently for R6 million. So our profit was R5 million. What if this had been a primary residence? All we need to do to change the type of asset is to select Primary Residence button here. We can immediately see that the amount going towards capital gains tax has dropped from 5 million to 3 million. This is of course because the profit on a primary residence sale qualifies for a 2 million rand exemption. If the selling price was less than 2 million rand, then CGT does not apply at all, and this is an important thing to remember. Also, with a community of property primary residence, the exemption of 2 million rand applies to the profit on the property, and the remainder is split 50-50 between spouses who each qualify for a 40,000 rand annual exclusion. Remember that the primary residence exclusion is per property and not per spouse married in community of property. This calculator will always use the taxpayer's marital status indicated on the personal details screen. Now let's discuss partnerships, and I'm not talking about community of property splits here. I'm talking about actual partnerships owning an asset. We can use this very example on the screen right here. What if 5 young people come out of varsity and buy a house together? They all live together in the house and it is their primary residence. They each have a 20% share. What happens when they sell the house one day? Who gets what share of the 2 million rand exclusion and who pays what share of the capital gain? Well, the law says that each person who has a financial share in the asset shares in the 2 million rand exclusion and shares in the gain for capital gains tax. This means that each partner winds up with a 20% share in the 3 million rand gain. If this partner we are concerned with here was married in community of property, then his 600,000 rand gain amount would be split between him and his wife equally. Now I just want to get rid of the partnership completely and change the selling price here to 2.6 million. Okay, we have no gain because the 2 million rand exemption on the profit of a primary residence. The profit is only 600,000 in this case, and the 2 million rand exemption means there's nothing in the profit to go for capital gains tax. I just want to draw your attention to this field here where we can enter the size of the property. I'm going to enter a size of 3 hectares and see what happens to the gain. Suddenly we have a gain of 200,000. Why? Well, the law regarding the 2 million rand exemption on the profit of a primary residence says the 2 million rand primary residence exclusion applies to so much of the property as does not exceed 2 hectares. Because this property was 3 hectares in size, that means 200,000 rand profit per hectare. The 2 million rand exemption applies to the profit on the first and second hectare, but the 200,000 rand profit on the third hectare stands on its own and is liable for capital gains tax. There is one other method SARS uses to determine the base cost in cases where you cannot prove when you acquired the asset or what you paid for it. If we remove the purchase date and the purchase price, then you will see that SARS uses the 80% 20% method, which means that SARS uses 20% of the proceeds as the base cost. In this case, 20% of the 6 million rand proceeds is 1.2 million. 6 million less 1.2 million base cost is 4.8 million profit, less the 2 million rand primary residence exemption means a gain of 2.8 million. I want to point out that the 20% 80% rule is very expensive and you want to avoid having to use this method if possible.